Hello, everybody. I'm Superintendent Allison Borchers, and I'm very pleased to be restarting the Superintendent Spotlight series today. And my guests today are Gerhard Doering, Ava Wallace, and Olivia Stark, three students who kickstarted the campaign for Article 34, which they're going to tell you a little bit more about shortly. And I want to just start off by having each of you just sort of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, where are you in your high school journey, and maybe kind of what got you interested in this campaign to begin with.
Yeah, you want to start?
All right, I guess I could start. My name's Ava Wallace. I'm a senior in high school. I've always been interested about democratic processes, and so bringing up this initiative, really raising awareness about civic engagement got me really interested, and so that's where I stand now.
So I'm Olivia Stark. I am a senior at Westborough High School, and I've also been really interested in being civically engaged and trying to find a way to have an impact and do something while I'm young and show people that it doesn't really matter what age you are and you can always get started somewhere. So I thought that being a part of this initiative was a really cool opportunity to do that and maybe kickstart that for something I can do in college and later on.
Love that.
I'm Gerhard Doering. I'm a junior in high school. I've always been interested in government and politics, so this was another kind of interesting way to get involved there. And I really believe in having students have a voice in their town because we benefit so much from this community, so it was a great opportunity. Mm-hmm. And then Chloe Flynn, who's not here, was also the fourth member of our campaign team.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Well, can you all tell me, and whoever kind of wants to jump in on this, a little bit about the origin story of this particular campaign? Kind of where did the idea come from? How did you all particularly get involved? And how did it sort of bloom from there? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can take it if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So it started, I think, last August. It was kind of when we had our first meeting about it. Chloe and I were both involved as we were volunteers for the Westborough Democratic Town Committee's sponsored nonpartisan forum for candidates just the previous year. So we both were familiar with each other from there and with the Westborough Democratic Town Committee. And then Ava and then Olivia, I don't know, were you guys at that forum specifically?
I wasn't, but...
I watched it online.
You were, yeah. And then it ended up being the four of us started meeting up in the summer, working with another group of people at the Westborough Democratic Town Committee to start kind of kickstarting it, brainstorming it all, and then that's how we kind of got here.
That's great. Did it start? So the article language is interesting because it's not really to give people the vote. It's actually to lobby the state legislature, right? So I'm curious about your process, the evolution of the article itself, and like how did that kind of wend its way through?
So we had to start by creating a citizens petition, which is just a way for a member of the town of Westborough to get on a warrant for town meeting.
Nice.
So we had to start with a citizen petition. We worked with another member of the Westborough Democratic Town Committee. His name is Kurt, and he's a lawyer, so he helped us with some of the language with that. Okay. And then that becomes a home rule petition, which is basically asking the Massachusetts state legislature for an exemption for Massachusetts general laws. So since right now it's not written into the language that 16 and 17-year-olds can vote in town meeting and town elections, that would be an exemption from the current law.
We also had the town moderator come in as well a few times just to give us like the lay of the land, as if you will, for when it comes to town meeting and how that would look like as well.
He was a huge help in the process, and just kind of none of us had ever presented at town meeting before, so he was just a big help in letting us know how it usually goes.
That's great. So you got through the sort of citizens petition phase, right? And then you had to get the draft onto the warrant. Was there sort of revision or any work that back and forth that happened there?
Absolutely, so much revision.
So I mean, I'd say that kind of the two things that stand out. So we were editing it up until I think December is when we got the signatures. We got more than 10, but I think at that point, and I think you still do unless the other home rule petition from last year has passed, you only need 10 to get onto the warrant. So that wasn't hard in and of itself. We were on there before a lot of even the town warrants were, so we were able to get on there and kind of have people know about it. The big one came, I want to say, like a week or two before maybe like a week before town meeting. just a week before it was already it had already been printed in the books basically, but because it's a citizens petition, the town council doesn't review them until just nearing the end, just because they've got to prioritize like the town sponsored ones.
Right.
And just pointed out a couple of little things like changing way to remove the word ordinances because Westborough doesn't have ordinances, just like some little things like that. So we ended up then bringing a slightly modified version in front of the town, and Olivia made that motion.
Yeah, I was able to make that motion because I'm the only 18-year-old as part of the group. Even though I'm still in high school, I am 18, so I was able to do that, which was pretty cool too.
That is cool. I was going to ask just your experience at town meeting in general. Like, what did you think? I mean, had you sat through a town meeting before as an observer? You know, just tell me a little bit about your impressions of the whole process.
Yeah. I've definitely been at town meeting before. I've been at the past couple. I'm also on the Westborough Youth Commission, so that requires you to be present there just because they're making decisions for the town.
Of course.
But I don't think I've ever like sat through a complete one the way I did, and that was like a long one as well.
Yes.
So I say this was probably the most focused I've ever been during a town meeting, that's for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been to a few town meetings. I think I sat through one entire one. It was one on the shorter side. But generally I would watch them. But yeah.
Yeah, in the past I've watched them on Westborough TV. I do that with a lot of the different committee meetings too. Sometimes I just look and kind of see what they're talking about at that meeting. But yeah, I've watched a few of them on Westborough TV.
Nice. So before town meeting, you know, you got the article drafted, and then you had time in between. Tell me a little bit about what happened sort of outside of town meeting to garner support for the article, and kind of what you learned in that process as well.
Yeah, so we started by meeting monthly with a few of our like kind of adults helping us that are part of the Westborough Democratic Town Committee, and then us high schoolers. And we started by just kind of thinking about what do we want to accomplish, what do we want to, so a big part of our campaign was for a big presentation, like a Google Slides presentation to show the town during town meeting. And so that was something we had to start brainstorming right from the beginning. And then we started building that together. It was just us. We didn't have any adults helping us with that presentation. That was just us. And then kind of at each meeting, we would either show them our presentation, we would get feedback, we would kind of maybe schedule other ways to reach out to people and get people's feedback. So we just wanted to start that as early as possible.
Yeah, we've held mock presentations as well. That
So
was
many.
very, very helpful in terms of preparing.
And then, so that presentation, the one that we showed in town meeting, was, I think ended up being like version 8 of many versions starting in those mock presentations. But then we also presented to the Westborough Select Board and the Westborough Advisory Finance Committee, as well as we held a club meeting at the school. So we got some student feedback and heard from some different teachers who popped in then and like other times. And there might have been one other presentation. Oh yeah, and we presented then to the Westborough Democratic Town Committee as well as some residents from the Willows, because that's just where it takes place.
Nice.
So that was another great opportunity. So by the time we got to town meeting, we'd probably presented maybe like 6 times in front of an audience, something like that.
We had also presented to the Advisory Finance Committee and the Select Board. As also they wanted to see our presentation beforehand, but it also gave us a good opportunity to practice.
Yeah.
That's great. Outside of sort of the formal presentation and practicing the presentation, did you get much inquiry just, from the random citizen on the street or your classmates or anything like that? I'm curious about those kind of conversations.
We have an Instagram page.
Oh, nice.
So we've been posting about the town meeting and what we're working on and how you can educate yourself on what we've been doing. And a lot of my friends have come up to me, or even people that I don't know, that say like, hey, I saw that you're working on this. I'm interested. I want to know more. And so I think our club has really helped into kind of broadening that and providing that information to them, I think.
Yeah. Another outreach methods, we had the Instagram, we had our website that we tried to keep updated, both with information about our article, but also just like updated articles from the town meeting, and just like when the town election was, just information like that. So we saw traffic there. We had a contact form, so people would reach out there. And then the other more fun one is lots of stickers that we handed out throughout the school day.
Okay.
Those were a hit.
I know starting a club at our school called Westborough Votes 16, WHS Vote 16, was really helpful because I actually had a few underclassmen, like I had some freshmen come up to me. I knew them from another club and they were telling me like, hey, I think it's really cool, I want to get involved. And I was like, this is awesome that we're gaining support from a bunch of different ages, like from our peers.
I think that's great. Well, let's kind of dive into the substance. I'm really curious. I got the benefit of really hearing your presentation in its sort of final version. But just in brief, what do you think, after kind of going through the process, were the most compelling and most convincing arguments that you put forward for people to consider, the things that you think maybe turned people's thinking a little bit?
Yeah. So our three main contentions were that students, 16, 17-year-olds, are mature enough that they have a stake in the town and that those decisions impact them, and that by allowing them to vote early on, it builds positive civic habits for life. So those were kind of like the three arguments that whenever we were considering new evidence, we would really make sure we tie into one of those three big ideas to help kind of structure our argument. So those were kind of our three, if we want to talk about those.
Yeah, I think something else that was interesting that I don't think a lot of people knew about, and I certainly didn't know about till we started this, was something called core cognitive capacities, and that's showing that you can intake information and make a reasonable decision, and that part of your brain is largely already developed by the age of 16, and that stays consistent even until your brain isn't fully developed until 25, and those ages can still vote. So I think it kind of showed people that there isn't a huge difference in that specific skill that is kind of required in voting from these younger ages we were talking about.
Yeah, and especially since a lot of the issues that are voted on at town meeting affect students, really. And so by allowing 16, 17-year-olds to vote, like Gary said, it really builds those habits at a time where students are really connected with their community in a stable environment. Like, they're not going off to college yet, so they're still receiving civics education as well. So it really helps set them up for positive habits as they grow older.
Yeah, and setting students up for the future really, I think, was especially with because this town really does value youth voice and youth engagement, and because a big goal of the social studies department at our school is to allow students to go forward with their high school education to be civically engaged. Those statistics that show that students who engage earlier on are so much more likely to then vote in the future, and they vote at much more consistent, more consistently. So I think that was, as Ava was saying, a really big part of our argument.
Absolutely. Now, you got pushback at town meeting and heard some things from the town meeting members, and I'm curious about, kind of as you've processed that and thought about it, are there things you might lean into in terms of, if you were going to kind of go back and do this again, what are some things you might be prepared to push back on?
I think the biggest critique, and I think this feels kind of the biggest only because we weren't expecting this one, was there was some concern about Westborough being among the first towns. We had up on our slide, there was only 12 communities that had passed a similar home rule petition. So I think getting a greater support in the state itself, having more towns push for something like this, I think that would be really helpful if we were to do it again, and that's something we're looking forward to doing, collaborating with other towns and finding students in those towns who feel just as passionately about the issue.
Yeah, just to show people that this isn't unknown territory, like this is something that people have thought about, people value in other communities, and I think showing that we wouldn't be like the guinea pigs is really important, just to make people more comfortable with the idea.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's great. Thinking about that kind of the experience, was there anything else at town meeting that you were sort of surprised by, or that you feel like you wish you had known ahead of time?
Yeah. I think the biggest one, there was one amendment made, or proposed amendment, that was introduced. We were told about that, I want to say, a few hours before we presented.
But not very much.
Yeah, the citizen who brought that forward did let us know, just so we could be prepared, which was really nice. So we knew that they were going to push for allowing youth to be involved in elections, but not necessarily involved or voters in town meeting.
Yeah.
So that was something we were out there outside the auditorium by the copy maker for like, I don't know, good like 30 minutes preparing our
We were like
response
huddling
to
up
that.
and
Yeah.
sort of just talking about how we were going to approach that, because
Yes.
that was kind of a curveball thrown in at the last minute.
Yeah, because we weren't sure. If anything, I was kind of expecting it to be the other way. So it was interesting to kind of see that. So we were able to kind of have like a unified stance when we actually got up there. We explained how we feel that town meeting is such an important way of being civically engaged. It's basically a 12-hour civics lesson.
It is.
Yeah, it was
and
really cool.
So I mean, I learned a ton being there, and that's something we really want to encourage. It takes 10 minutes to go to the polls, but to actually put in the work of being at town meeting, doing your research before and during it, that's something we really wanted to encourage. So that was an unexpected thing that popped up, but I'm pretty proud of how we handled that one.
Me too.
You're going to learn something more, and you're going to sort of subconsciously become more civically engaged just by sitting there and by really listening to the presentations, because I know for me, like, I learned so much stuff I didn't know before. I didn't know how zoning worked. I didn't know how a bunch of these things worked. So I think just like it's just a really helpful thing to be exposed to.
Yeah. And town meeting is a prime example of how democracy works. I mean, democracy works from bottom up. So just being there and being able to experience it and really listen in on all of these issues is something that it shouldn't be taken for granted. So.
Absolutely. And I, as somebody coming from the outside, from a different community, I think the level of engagement at Westborough's town meeting is very, very high. People take it seriously, they show up, they debate things. There's a lot of investment that comes through that. And so, your effort to try and expand the number of people doing just that, I think is great.
And that was something like we really appreciated, is that people took the time to come and listen to us and be involved in the civic process, because we wouldn't have had as much of a compelling presentation, I feel, if we didn't have people kind of voicing their concerns to us, and then we could have a chance to explain why we either agreed or we had something to push back against. So I think that was just, it showed that that's a really important part of the process, even when you're bringing new things up, is to have people there and be able to give you real life feedback.
Yeah, I was really appreciative of the fact that we were taken seriously enough for the meeting. Not many people left before our meeting. We saw people kind of entering to talk about it. So the chance to be like taken seriously in front of a town, I feel like just for youth in general in this town to for a town meeting to recognize 4 youth presenters and let them go through a process, that says a lot about our town, and I think it's adding to the town's collective awareness of that youth want to say in things.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it was nice to also hear from the collective as well, because that gave us an idea of what people were thinking and what stance they were on, or maybe they brought up something that we previously had thought of an answer before, and so we could kind of reason with them or tell them why we, or some of our further explain what we were trying to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, you all were highly effective. I spoke with a number of people who walked into town meeting thinking one way and really voted differently because of your presentation and your ability to kind of respond to people on the spot. It was great.
That was something that truly made me happy to be a part of this, is that when I heard people, it wasn't the people that went into it knowing how they were going to vote and voted that way. It was the people that said,
Yes.
I walked into this not really knowing about it, kind of thinking one way, and you completely changed our mind. You completely gave us a new perspective, and I think that was really cool, and that was something I really took away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, kind of thinking ahead, it got defeated barely. It was such a that was. I do want to ask, like, how was that moment for you? I'm really curious about how you handled yourselves beautifully. I want to say.
Thank you.
I think that's a disappointing moment for anybody. But I'm curious what was kind of going through your mind, or what you thought.
So I had written the previous vote on the amendment that happened just before on my iPad screen that I had up there. So a little bit of quick math, we knew that we needed a certain amount if we were going to get there. And 95 was like so close, it's like maybe if a couple people pick up their like voting devices this time that didn't. But we heard 95 and we didn't even hear the rest, and it was like, okay. Yep.
We all collectively kind of knew, and we were just like
okay, yeah. And then of course it's the last article, so everyone's like rushing to leaving, and we're just like standing there.
Yeah.
No, I feel like it was kind of like okay, well, we know now, you know what I mean? And it was close. We weren't really sure going into that if we were going to get 20 votes or if we were going to get 200. So at least there was some satisfaction, I think, of just like, okay.
Although afterwards we did receive a lot of positive
Yeah.
feedback, and a lot of people, like you mentioned, were saying, hey, you know, I wasn't sure how I was going to vote on this, but you really gave me some insight and made me change my vote. And so, but that doesn't mean, just because we didn't pass it doesn't mean that we're going to stop here. So we're going to continue with this next year and continue talking, connecting with each other and working on this. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think even more impactful were the individuals that I had spoken to previously that I knew they weren't going to. And then they said, you know, in the spur of the moment, I clicked one. And that was like, okay, like our presentation did something. Like, that's an awesome feeling, yeah.
I think something that surprised me was people I know in the community or I had talked to previously, maybe not about that actually did show that they didn't support it. And I thought that was something that was really good to learn how to handle, because that was something that bugged me in the moment. I was like, shoot, like it's something personal, and I know it's not. It's people disagreeing with something I'm presenting, not me. And that was a really good lesson, I think, to learn that you can disagree with people. They don't have to align with you, but you can still move on. You can still both be part of the community, and I think that was just something that was really good to learn.
Yeah, and you can still respect the effort that someone is taking. I mean, anyone who stands up in town meeting, right? They're taking a chance. They're putting their beliefs in front of a larger body. So the people that spoke in favor and the people who spoke opposed, I'm just really appreciative that they took us seriously. They made their voice heard, because that's ultimately what we were trying to do.
That's great. So you've mentioned that sort of you're not going to stop. I'm curious, so what happens to the campaign now? We've got two of you graduating and moving on from Westborough, but kind of what's the next step and the next phase for you all?
First, we're recruiting. We know students interested, and it's honestly open to anyone a little bit. If they want to attend one meeting or attend them all, we want more people to work with.
Anyone of any view, any affiliation, it's totally a bipartisan effort.
Yeah, and I mean, even nonpartisan, right?
Nonpartisan.
It's just like,
I meant.
Okay. Know what I mean? So that's going to be kind of getting some more people involved is going to be a big step. I mean, they're going to be at college, but we'll still hear from them. They'll be back for town meeting. They'll be back for town meeting. And reaching out to other schools. We have plans whether it's reaching out to we find a certain club advisor at a neighboring school that we think might have students interested, or maybe a principal in another school knows some students who this would be up their alley. Kind of getting them engaged and talking to them, because if at next town meeting, if town meeting next spring across the state has 20, 30 towns that are putting something like this forward, or just having youth present at all, that sends a larger message than just Westborough's interested, and we believe we can be part of making that happen.
I think we were invited, or we presented at a library.
Yeah, Northborough.
At the Northborough Library, and
nice.
It was a small group, but they were interested, and they really wanted to know what we were doing, and so that was a great opportunity for us to explain what we're doing again.
Yeah.
That's great. Are you aware of any other student groups that are presenting at town meetings? Our town meeting is so early, and many of them are happening in the next few weeks. So is there anybody else in any other community that's coming up soon?
Yeah, in Massachusetts, I've done some searching through the town meeting warrants, because unfortunately it's not always super publicized. I haven't found anything for this season, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening. I do know in other states there's a big movement right now in Pennsylvania, in many municipalities. They don't use a town meeting system, but referendums, things like that. So we are seeing on the national level continued involvement there, and I certainly don't think it's going away. I don't know specifically Massachusetts quite yet, but we'll see. If any of them pass, then they'll show up.
It is. I mean, I kind of appreciate your leadership around this, and I actually think the town meeting format works in your favor in the sense that, as you heard, people showed up. They were, really impressed by the presentation, the fact that you stayed the whole time, all the things. And I think that your capacity to sort of handle the questions on the fly and really engage with people, I think that that level of engagement sort of puts forward, it's kind of an argument in and of itself, right? So I think that's, I wouldn't be surprised to see Massachusetts or other kind of New England states that do town meeting,
a lot of the New England ones do, yep.
Be kind of leaders in this, which is great.
Yeah, something we'd love to see. Yeah, because also in right now California, Maryland, New Jersey, counties there do it. A really popular one is just even electing the school board, because in some locations that's a different election.
Absolutely.
So I think Oakland, California, among other areas in California, allow that right now. So it's actively happening. We've proven it's allowed in the country. So now it's just a matter of getting more involved.
Absolutely, and in some of those places, I think Oakland might be one, and LA Unified might be another. The student representatives to school board are elected in a pretty comprehensive process, and they are voting members of the school board, which is a whole different level of student voice, which is interesting. Well, I want to ask about kind of your future plans, because a couple of you are graduating and moving on. I'm not sure if you know yet what's in store for you, but I'd love to hear, Olivia.
So I will most likely be attending college at American University next year.
Fantastic.
I'm going to be studying political science, so kind of you can see why I wanted to do this.
Yes.
But I'm really excited to be in Washington, D.C. and just to kind of have more opportunities to be civically engaged and learn from some of the best people. So I'm really excited for that.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
I'm going to Thomas Jefferson University. It's right in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I'll be studying the pre-medical studies. So completely different, but I still think this is very, very important, and to be part of our democracy, this is what we have to do.
Absolutely, and informed sort of citizenry isn't limited to just people who are interested in kind of politics or the political universe as a career. And I assume you're about to kick off all your college searches.
Yep,
and
writing the essay in English right now.
Okay.
I'm absolutely interested in political science, so I want to go down that route. I also am interested in theater, specifically lighting design. So kind of a weird combination there, but I'm hoping to be able to do something in both fields.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Are you, by any chance, writing your essay about this experience?
It's a good idea. I have like five different
ideas.
ideas. Yeah, but no, that's a good idea. So yeah,
this is a good one.
Yeah.
Any kind of final thoughts you want to share with me before we sort of sign off about?
Just huge thank you for having us, for
you
staying
so
at town
much.
meeting, and for having us here. We really, really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. This was I had been meaning to restart this and kind of looking for the right thing. And when I saw your presentation, I thought it would be a great thing to sort of follow up from this, and also especially if you had plans to keep going. I wanted people to know about that. And
thank you. Thank you for your shout out also in the newsletter right before.
Yeah, that was really
so many town meeting things happening there.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Well, thanks again, and thank you for tuning in to the Superintendent Spotlight, and I will be back in a month or two with another edition.